if I am not doing what I need to do in the four walls of my home, what difference does it make in the four corners of the earth? Because everything starts in the home. You know what I mean? And if I'm not fulfilling my duties at home, then what I'm out there here doing is not being true to my identity and my values that I'm preaching and teaching to others to follow. I can't tell you to go be a world changer. Well, being a world changer starts in your own home. That's where it really starts. And I got it backwards, and I thought I could do it in reverse, and just ended up being utter chaos.
Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. It's been a great ride this week, and man, I love to just spend quality time with quality people. And this guest that we have this week for you, he's a pretty cool guy. Actually, he's a pretty awesome guy. Every time I speak to him, he speaks from the heart. He's genuine, and I just feel great vibes from him is the best way I can see it. So let's welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Mr. Jesse A. Cruz. What's going on, Jesse?
Oh, thank you, Daniel, for having me. I'm so excited for this opportunity.
Man, I've known you now for a while, and you're doing some amazing things. You're an up-and-coming speaker. You have a book that's been epic, and we'll talk about that also. But I know who you are, man. I know the loving guy you are, the beautiful person you are inside your heart. Let the world know of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Who is Jesse Cruz?
Jesse Cruz is a man like anybody else, but I've been fortunate enough to have the right people speak into my life who encourage me to pursue my gifts and my dreams and my passion. First and foremost, I'm a man of God. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a writer, and I'm a speaker. And I'm just thankful to be here, and I'm just so honored that you've taken the time to have me on your show and to share a message of hope and encouragement with your listeners.
Yeah, well, I think right now, especially, it's been a great time in life. And I say that because I think a lot of us were comfortable, and we were set in our own ways. And I think 2020 just came and shook everybody up and rattled the trees, right? We got all the monkeys out of the tree, to say. But I say that because what I found out about myself during this season is that I was complacent in a lot of areas. And we get success sometimes in a certain area of life and we don't realize that. And I think that right now people have that sense of hopelessness because all they've known is one thing, right? You said the word hope, right? And I want you to bring hope because you're going to bring hope. I know that. You speak from your heart. So let's start off with this. What is something that has impacted you this year where you lost hope and then next thing you know, you found it?
Absolutely. So I'll say for me personally, there were some challenges that I was having relationally, like in my marriage. I have a great marriage, but I think COVID exposed some things that I didn't know were there. Because I was too busy pursuing success. I was trying to achieve more and check off the list and, complete all the goals. In the pursuit of having more, I was neglecting the needs of my wife. And I learned in that season, I'm accomplishing these things even despite COVID. But if I don't accomplish a successful marriage, none of this stuff means anything. So I had to be humbled greatly with that, knowing, Jesse can be successful and he can accomplish many great things in life, but without the support and love of my wife, because I was putting these other things in front of her, they don't mean anything. So, I'm a family man. So, what is it good is it to gain the world and lose your soul or lose your marriage or lose your relationship? So I had to readjust my relationships and put them back in the rightful place.
Wow. That was powerful. We're going to start a little bit early right now. This is the time of the show where I say, get out your pen, get out your paper. It's time to put pen to paper because Jesse is just dropping some wisdom right now. He's speaking from his heart. And I think a lot of men need to write this down right now. And a lot of women too, because a lot of times I think now both spouses, right, whether you're male or female, we're so ambitious and we neglect our relationship. So let me ask you this, Jesse, because I really want you to give some wisdom to the audience. What is one thing that you really had to shift, right? You're being honest. I love the fact that you're always transparent and you were you were seeking your career for. So what's the first thing that you had to realize that you had to readjust within your thinking and how you were approaching your marriage and your relationship?
I had to come to the realization that if I am not doing what I need to do in the four walls of my home, what difference does it make in the four corners of the earth? Because everything starts in the home. You know what I mean? And if I'm not fulfilling my duties at home, then what I'm out there here doing is not being true to my identity and my values that I'm preaching and teaching to others to follow. I can't tell you to go be a world changer. Well, being a world changer starts in your own home. That's where it really starts. And I got it backwards, and I thought I could do it in reverse, and just ended up being utter chaos.
Boom, baby. Woo! That's it right there, right? Being a world changer starts in your home. You gotta need to write that down, ladies and gentlemen. Being a world changer starts in your home. How many of us, we want to change the world? And what comes to mind right now, Jesse, is I had a client, and we were just talking about some things, and I said, well, and it was about their, everybody says that the kids, teenagers, when they don't listen, I'm like, well, if they're acting a certain way, over 90% of that, they probably learned from you, because the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And that's exactly what came to mind when you said that. It's like, we need to be those world changers in our home. And I think many of us have been exposed, because you're talking about how, right, the schools have closed down and we're forced to be in the house with our wife, with our kids, and we find ourselves being easily irritated. I'm not saying that about you, but just in general, stories that I've heard. And it's just that sometimes we don't realize that's how much we've neglected our family. And I'm guilty of this myself, that you don't know how to interact with them. There's an awkwardness there. Would you say that sometimes with people?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, prior to COVID and the hustle and bustle and the fast pace of life, it was one activity to the next, one sport here for the kids, one volunteer project there, one work project, one new business opportunity. And what happens is that we fill our schedules so full to the point where we neglect what should be on the calendar. And that's time with family. That should be on the calendar. Not every business meeting needs to take priority over every family meeting. Those are things I got backwards, and my family suffered because of it.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that too, right? I'm going to be a hand raiser on that. I remember a time when I was running multi-million-dollar dealerships, and it wasn't even God first. It was work, then God, and then my family, and then even that, sometimes that got misconstrued, right? You're so ambitious, and I was taking care of I've said it before, right? I was taking care of my work family more than I was taking care of my house family, my home family. So definitely. Well, man, let's talk about this. I want to talk about a time in Jesse's life that you've been out there. You're an up and coming speaker. You're an author. And I think a lot of us, I think you put a lot of things in perspective, what you're doing now to make yourself better. And I truly believe that 2021 is going to be a breakout year for you like never before. What have you learned about yourself? Tell us a time as you were thinking about being a speaker and people told you that you were crazy. You were thinking about being an author, and people told you, like, why do you want to do that? And you lost your confidence. Talk to us a little bit about that season, because I want to end that with the fact that the successes that you've had now.
Right. So absolutely. Well, I'll start with the writing of the book process. I felt called to write this book. I knew it wasn't from me. It wasn't my idea. It was God's. And, as I'm going to write this book, I still get these small little voices in the back of my mind, like, who do you think you are to write a book like this? Like, what makes you a professional? And someone from, like me, I didn't do well in school. I was diagnosed with a learning disability. So those labels kept popping back up. And I said, you know what? I cannot let people's labels become my limitation. You know what I mean? So I had to remove those labels in my life, and just, like, no matter what, I had to keep pushing forward. But there was a time about halfway through, I was ready to quit. I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore, because I grew impatient, because I didn't appreciate the process. Anytime there's a long process, there's long, beautiful growth at the end of it. But most people quit before the process is completed, because they become restless with the results. And I had to get to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this no more. No one's going to want to hear what I have to say. And I'm not valuable or smart enough or educated enough to put out this kind of message of encouragement, helping other people. And then, God convicted me and said, this is what I told you to do. And that's all I needed to know. Because if I'm doing things in my own willpower, and my own skill, and my own ability, I'm definitely going to fall short. But if I'm following the leading of my creator, then I already know it's going to be successful because I'm doing what I'm called to do.
Yeah. So share with us, what were two of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome at that point when you thought about giving up? Throw this book on the shelf, right? It's unfinished. I don't even want to deal with it. What are two things that you had to really overcome, and how did you overcome them?
I'd say the first thing I have to overcome is self-doubt. I think every single person has some degree of self-doubt. No matter how confident they are, no matter how great they are at a particular thing, there are moments of insecurity. And we can't live in those moments. They're just moments. We shouldn't let the moment dominate our entire mind. And so I had to come to the point where I was like, you know what? I doubt my ability to write this. I doubt the ability that people are going to read it. And so I had to realize that this gift that I've been given wasn't for me to keep. It was for others. So I had to accept that. I said, you know what? This writing in this book really isn't for me. It's for the world. It's for others. It's to help people. So I had to realize when you're thinking in terms of it's a bigger picture than just about yourself, then you're able to overcome that self-doubt. And remember that there's people all over this world, not just me, but anybody who has a gift. There's people depending on us to use our gifts. We are answered prayer to people who are struggling. And when we don't use our gifts, we are neglecting to answer the prayers that they've been praying for months, weeks, years, and a lifetime. So I had to realize, man, there's people depending on this book. People who need what I have to say. And so I had to go do it.
Amen. Amen. That's powerful. Think about that right now, right? Since I do a lot of sales training, I always talk about, right? You know who the best salesman is? The best salesman out there, we meet him every single day. Doubt. Self-doubt is the best salesman, because once he starts talking, most of us start listening to him and we never act upon those dreams, those actions, those desires that God put in our hearts to do. And I love what Jesse's saying right here. Don't allow the best salesman in the world, self-doubt, to contaminate, destroy, and kill your dreams. Because there's always going to be that, I call it that terror line. There's always going to be that fear line that we're going to have to overcome. And once you cross that fear line, once you cross that tipping point, it's amazing, because once you made that decision, Jesse, right, it was probably kind of downhill from there. Of course, there was work to be done, but it was a lot easier mentally once you conquered your self-doubt. Would you say that?
Absolutely. And then the second part of your question is like, after I got over the self-doubt of my abilities, I had to free myself from the chains of people's opinions. Because what are they going to think about me? Are they going to reject me? Are they going to like me? Are they going to dislike me? Are they going to laugh at me? So I had to just like, you know what? I'm not doing this to get their approval. I'm just not. I had to realize that I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And whether they approve it or not, that's really none of my business. I need to do it because I've been called. I need to be obedient to that call and live with the results and know that I'm doing what I've been called to do.
Wow, man, that's some powerful stuff. Why do you think so many of us, we hold on to people's opinions and we don't release them?
Because unfortunately, especially living in a social media world, that we live for likes instead of living for love. And if we can
say that again,
we live for likes instead of living for love.
Wow.
That's what we do. And if we get one like, I'm not valuable. If we get 100 likes, okay, I'm a little more liked today than I was yesterday. Well, how do I get to 200 likes? And then you get to 200 likes, and then how do I get to 300? And then all of a sudden 300 is not enough. And then it's just like this never-ending quest for more likes, because it's a quick, easy fix. It's a fast solution. But those likes don't equate love.
Wow. Y'all better be writing this down right now, ladies and gentlemen. He's dropping some wisdom right there. Likes. Say that again. What did you say?
Likes don't equal love. And I think a lot of times we live for that because It's easier. Because likes take 2 seconds. Love takes a lifetime.
You know what comes to mind when you said that is likes is shallow, right? Likes is just a shallow to say, and love is deeper. And many of us, we don't want to go deeper because we haven't healed that deeper part of our souls, of our hearts. So it's easier to get that quick fix and get that like than to really receive that love.
Absolutely. That's always the easier way.
I love that. That's going to be, man, I'll tell you what, that's powerful right there. That's really hitting me. That's why I'm kind of just stalling right now. But likes, man. So let me ask you this. As you realize this, how have you applied this in your speaking career?
I'm to the point where I'm just like, you know what? Whether I'm the most popular speaker in the world or I'm not, I'm okay with that because it's not, like I said, it's not about me. It's about the message. And, that message reaches one person or 1 million, is being obedient to deliver it anyways. And realizing that, you know what? I may not have the outcome that I personally want, but God has a greater plan. He's going to make it all work for the good. And I trust that his plan is greater than my plan. I can't see it yet. I just got to trust and walk with him and allow him to guide me. And becoming a speaker is a lifelong dream of mine. And people like yourself have believed in me and encouraged me along the way to pursue it. And so I know that it's going to work. And whether I get the greatest results in the standing ovation or no one stands up and clap, I'm still on the stage. And that's all he wants: our effort, our time, and our obedience.
Amen. So after you finished the book, right, guys, you're coming in, you went over the self-doubt, you conquered self-doubt, you conquered these two things. You said the growth at the end of the process was worth it. So what was the growth that Jesse's, when you look back, you're like, wow, I didn't realize I grew so much in this area. What was that growth? What took place in you after you finished your book?
Perseverance. And it also definitely developed confidence because I have never written anything really other than, school papers. You know what I mean? I never planned to become an author. That was never a life goal or a life dream of mine. But, I discovered that along the way. And I'm so thankful for it. And, I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to share any wisdom that I have. It's not because of something great that I am, but it's because who I know. It's because the greatness that's stored up within my heart, not because of who Jesse Cruz is. I know that I just been blessed tremendously to share his message with the world. And, through that process of writing that book, let me tell you, I had to realize, I do have the ability, when I'm following the right plan to accomplish much more than I ever dreamed of. I think a lot of times we have small thinking, small prayers, and I feel like we serve a big God. He wants big success. And we got to put in great effort to do it. And I had to realize, if I'm following his plan, it's going to work. Writing this book, it's going to work because even when I wanted to quit, even when I wanted to give up, even when I was afraid of the failure and people's opinions, I just had to trust.
So you said something that was key right there. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to lose this moment. You said something you said we serve a big God with big plans for you. I want you to talk to that person right now because I feel somebody's listening to this show right now and they've had that dream or that vision of big plans, right? Because we do serve a big God. But it's always easier, Jesse, I say, to believe it for somebody else instead of believing it for yourself. So I want you to talk to that person right now for a couple of minutes and how they need to start believing those big plans that God wants to give them for themselves.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point is that we can look on TV, we can look on social media, and we can see all these people with the fame and the status and the skills and gifts and talents that we all look at, and we're just like, wow, that's amazing. And you know what? Those people aren't greater than anybody else. The only difference between them and us is their discipline. That's it. It's the daily consistency to achieve greatness. And that's what separates successful people from unsuccessful people. They think it's because of the family they're born into, the money they have, the education they have, how they look. It has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with the person that wakes up day in and day out and says, I'm making the decision today to pursue my goal and dream, because every single person has a gift. And when you don't open up your gift, it grows dust and collects on the shelf, and it is no value to anybody. So everyone has to open the gift that God gave them and open it up. Read the instruction manual, whatever that gift is, fine tune it, sharpen it, and spread it to the world. Because gifts are meant to be given, not stored in our hearts. We were meant to share them from our hearts with others to impact them. So I'm going to tell to that person who doesn't believe that great dream is for them is that there's a gift and dream that was stored in you before you were even born. And the reason why you're so frustrated is because you haven't discovered it yet. And God is waiting for you to open up your gift, share it with the world.
Yes. You're saying that and you're so right. And it hurts me when you see people that have plugged up their heart, right? They plugged up their heart because of something that they went through in life, and they just close their heart to receive and believe anything possible from them. And what I mean by that is say if somebody goes through a bad divorce or somebody, unfortunately, I've lost my mom when I was 10 years old. And sometimes we go through these experiences in life where we lose a loved one and we just become mad at the world. And that kills our dreams because it's not, our heart's not opened up to receive and to believe. And I want to extend that right now to my audience. I want you to understand this is what Jesse is saying is that we all have a gift within our heart. We're all born with that blueprint. We all have a God-given DNA. No one has your voice. Think about that. No one has your voice. No one has your fingerprint. No one. But I say that because you have a uniqueness. You have a gift inside of you that nobody has your gift. And somebody out there needs to hear your gift, and you need to believe that dream for yourself the way Jesse's saying that. And Jesse's 100% correct. Because what Jesse realized was it wasn't about him writing the book. It was about the people that were going to read the book, that the book was going to help. If y'all missed that, that's what he said. He wanted to give in and listen to this lie of self-doubt. Who's going to read it? But I can probably say if Jesse was to look back right now and say, wow, I didn't realize that my book was really going to make this impact, he'd probably say that. The same way he released his gift of that book, don't be selfish and hold in your giftings because somebody out there needs to hear and know what your gifting is because your gift is going to help them, whatever your gift may be. Would you agree with that, Jesse?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I think one of the most selfish things that we do as humans is to not learn about our gifts and share it with others.
Yeah, man. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, let's shift up here. So what's the name of your book? Tell us the name of your book. You finished your book. What's the name of your book? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So the name of the book is called Live Your Dash.
Live Your Dash. What does Live Your Dash mean?
So, for people who are familiar with, going to a cemetery, you look on a tombstone, the time they're born is on the left, the time they pass away is on the right. That dash in the middle is representing what they've done with the time that they've been given. So I believe that everyone has a unique dash. Like you said, everyone's unique, and we need to find that purpose and that meaning for our dash. And we need to live it in clarity and abundance and prosperity and with purpose.
Do you think most people don't live their dash?
I think most people live other people's dash.
Okay. Elaborate on that one if you don't mind.
Okay, so
that's good stuff right there. Yeah.
When I say that, I think people are so caught up in the comparison trap that they try to live someone else's life. They try to be like someone else. And there's nothing wrong with learning from others. We should all learn from others and be mentored and, learn from others as much as we can. That's important. But I think we're so scared because we think of, oh, look at they've accomplished it. They have the dream, that we forget about our dreams because we're so caught up in their dreams by trying to live up to their expectations and trying to be like what mom and dad thought we should be, or big brother, big sister said we should live up to, or what that ex said to us. We let that hurt us and we carry it around. So we never live our lives. We actually live the expectations what other people have placed on us.
I love that. Wow. And you're right. I think comparison kills our identity. It kills our dream because we're so busy looking. Just think of what comes to mind. I always do when I do this when I use my corporate training. When I do my corporate trainings is I say, stay in your lane, right? Just think of you running the 100-yard dash. You never see a sprinter looking back to see where his competition is. He's always looking forward, going forward, and staying in his lane. And the moment you compare and try to see where you're at, you lose the race. And I think you're exactly right. So if somebody reads your book, Live Your Dash, what's one of the main key takeaways you're going to get from that, Jesse?
So in that book, there's 8 different areas. They're called the 8 F's. And I'll just start with the first one is because this is where it all starts with. And the first F is focus. And wherever our thoughts go, the energy is going to flow. And, I share a story in a book. My wife and my kids, we went on this beautiful hike. And, it was amazing. I had this huge waterfall with like a diving board in front of it, a huge canyon and gorge and natural swimming holes. This place was something that looks like out of a fairy tale, something you just read about or see in a movie. It was magnificent. About halfway through our hike, we had stopped hiking, to take a break. And I started skipping some rocks on some water. And my kids looked at me completely confused. And I was like, what, you've never skipped a rock before? And they said, we've never seen that before. I said, oh, okay, well, let me show you how to do it. So I picked up the rock and I started skipping it. And then they start skipping it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So they were really amazed by it. For me, that's an everyday thing. I didn't really think much of it. So we continued on our hike. We finished our destination, and it was one of the greatest memories we had as a family. It was a very special place. And me and my wife, we came there for these big waterfalls and these big scenic views. And on my way back, I look in the rearview mirror and I said, all right, girls, what was your favorite part? Was it the waterfall? Was it the canyon? Was it the big hike? Was it the big drop-offs, the vistas? What was it? And they said, skipping rocks. And I was like, wait, what? I said, we could have stayed home to do that. That was the favorite part, because I think in life, we're always looking at the big thing, the next big thing, but we forget about the small thing. For them, it was a little rock. That's something that they will never forget. And when we go on hikes now, this is years later, they still talk about that story. They still pick up a rock. They still skip it. So I think when you're focusing on too many things and trying to get to the big things, you're going to miss the small things right in front of you. And that first story in my book is called The Small Things, and how we need to focus on these little things. They matter. And when we overlook them because we believe they're insignificant. But if we take the time to appreciate the small things, we're also going to be more prepared for when those big things come.
Wow. You know what comes to mind when you say that is we focus on making the big people happy instead of focusing on everybody's equal. That's what I thought about. You made a comment about the size of your audience doesn't matter, and just the size of that. And I love that you said that. But I think sometimes in business, if somebody's not up to our level, we tend to overlook them because we see them like as little things, right? And we focus on bigger things, which of course you want to have a vision of your business and of where you want to go. But that's kind of what came into my heart, is that even as people, use that analogy of what Jesse just said. We look at the waterfall and yes, it's majestic. Yes, we look at this, it's majestic. In our world, right, we see the Anthony Robbins, we see the Eric Thomases and like, yeah, but it's like, you got to learn to value everybody the same way, not just run over the small people in your life. And I think so many times, and I was guilty of that when I was younger, is you tend to overlook some people, and you can't, because sometimes it's those people like yourself, right? Like yourself, you have opened doors for podcast interviews for me, and just, you've been a blessing in my life, and I mean that, and I want you to know that. And not that I overlooked you in a bad way, but it's just like, well, you think like, well, what can so-and-so do for me, right? Like, yeah, right. But when you don't see the value in them, or when you don't realize it's those little things, like Jesse just said, those little things add up to a lot. And those little things actually, because of you, I got a new client because they heard me on a podcast as I was on that you referred me to. And it was just, you never know. And when you realize that all things are big in God's eyes, that nothing is small, your whole perspective changes. And that's kind of what came to mind with what you just said.
Absolutely. Definitely.
You want to add on to that?
Yeah, I would just say that appreciate the small moments of life. I mean, because there's something so unique and so special about them, and the special people in your life. And they don't have to have the fame or the money or the status to be special. It's the relationship that makes it special. And people matter, and everyone has value. And when we start putting people, you're not as important, you're not as valuable, we can tend to mistreat people. If we treat everyone with respect, then everyone will have value. And people need to realize that they're valuable. And we need to be the ones that make the change and say, no, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You matter. You are important. And that's all they need to know. That they're heard, that they're seen, that they're loved, and they're accepted.
Wow, that's powerful. So let's shift here. So I have a question for you. What makes Jesse A. Cruz distinctive? What makes him unique? What makes him distinctive and stand out from the rest?
I think for me, it's vulnerability. This wasn't always the case, but, over the past few years, is that I'm able to share my pain with people, because I think that's what makes things real. And so for me, I think that stands out, not because, it's something that makes me better than anybody. I just think it's a rare thing, because I think a lot of times people are scared to share their pain because they feel like they're going to be judged or not accepted. But where I'm at, I'm okay with that. I just want to share. I think when we all share our hurts, that we all heal a little bit more, and we help others heal as well.
Yes. So let me ask you this. what is something that you want to share with us right now that comes to mind that will help somebody right now? Talk about vulnerability. What's something that you want to open up to us right now? Because I think I truly believe God's using you for this episode to really bring healing and open people's hearts. Because if you notice, the back story is opening the heart, right? Being vulnerable.
Yeah, for me, 3.5 years ago, I had a daughter who was born premature, and she was in the hospital, and we basically lived in the hospital because, she was fighting for her life every day. And there were moments where I would watch her breathing stop completely. I watched her flatline multiple times. My little infant girl, she was only 1 pound. And watching her fight for her life every single day was something that was beautiful, but also very painful because her fight was unbelievable. And after 42 days of fighting, she passed away. And that was the worst day of my entire life. And let me tell you what, I'm still not over it. There's some things you just don't ever get over. You just learn how to get through it. And that's one thing I'm still working on. That's one thing I'm still being healed with. And, I want people to know that even on your worst day, that there's something beautiful that can come from it. Not because she passed away, but from what I've been able to do to carry on her legacy, to help people, to encourage people, to reach people. She taught me that by her fight every single day. And so I'm without her, I wouldn't be on the show. I wouldn't have wrote the book. I wouldn't be becoming a speaker. A lot of things I wouldn't have developed or have right now if it wasn't for her. See, God will use anything if we let him. And one of the greatest things he likes to use is our pain. When we give our pain to him, he's going to heal us. And he's going to help us heal others. And so for the people out there who are in pain and struggling, know that some days are going to be hard. Some days are going to get easier. But know that that pain is meant to be shared. Your pain is not meant for you to keep it to yourself and act like nobody understands, because people need to hear what you've gone through to know that they can get through the next day as well.
Wow. That's powerful stuff. Thank you for opening your heart to that, Jesse. That means a lot to me. Thank you. So as we come to the end of the show, I want you to share with us a quote or a scripture that you lean on when adversity hits. What's a quote or a scripture that you lean on, and share that with us, please?
So it would come from the scripture of Jeremiah 29:11. It states, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Not plans to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And I lean on that because he says, "For I know the plans." That means that Jesse doesn't know the plans. God knows the plans. And it's never to harm me, even when it feels like it's painful. It's not meant to harm me. It's meant to shape me. It's meant to mold me. It's meant to make me more like him, no matter how painful it is and how unfair and unjust it may seem. It's meant to make me more like him. It's to teach me how to love people better and to love him better. And so that's the scripture I lean on. And it's not a plan for us to be destroyed. It's for a plan for us to be refined and refreshed and renewed, even through the pain. That doesn't mean the pain is not going to happen. It's that, I read something the other day, and it's just to kind of go off the verse, is that, yes, God could put out the fire that's going on in your life. He could. Your world seems like it's on fire, it's crumbling out. He could put it out, but he'd rather walk with you in it. And so that's what I'm learning to do, join people in their pain, and people can join me in mine, and God joins me in mine, and we all do this thing together. Sometimes the fire is not going to go out. It's going to hurt. But if we join each other while we're in the flame together, how much more comforting can that be?
Man, this has been a powerful interview, and I want to thank you for being on our show. How do we get a hold of you? If somebody wants to get a copy of your book, or they want to find out where can I find Jesse A. Cruz, let the audience know where we can find you at.
So, for the people who want to contact me directly for the book, I'm obviously on Facebook, Jesse Cruz, and my business page, Jesse A. Cruz. Or if they want to go on Amazon, Live Your Dash, Discovering the 8 F's to Freedom is on Amazon.com, and it's also on BarnesandNoble.com. And if they want to contact me on Instagram, my handle is author Jesse Cruz. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me. Or if they want to email me directly, authorjessecruz@gmail.com. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me for speaking engagements or book signings or anything like that.
Awesome. Woo! Well, what an amazing episode. This guy is amazing. And I admire him. His heart is real. His heart is true. And he's an up and coming speaker. As a matter of fact, talking about speaking, if you're thinking about really taking your speaking career to the next level, we'd love to see you here in San Antonio, Texas, March 5th and 6th at the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. You can email me at daniel@danielgomezspeaker.com to get more details, or it is on Eventbrite. We love to help you. That's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much for being with us again, Jesse. And everyone, have an amazing, amazing afternoon, and we'll see you next week here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to danielgomezinspires.com and get your copy today. That's danielgomezinspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.